So everybody's trying to figure out who the vice president is going to be for Kamala Harris, who's the de facto nominee now. She has received the crown. She is next in the line for the crown, and so she's taking it and putting it on. So what's pretty interesting here is, as you guys know, the first stop in the leg of this tour that the Kamala campaign is going on is starting off in Pennsylvania, which is really sparking a lot of controversy, or not controversy, but a lot of thoughts and ideas that the person is going to be Josh Shapiro, because of course he's from Pennsylvania. And I think it makes sense to expect that. I think Josh Shapiro is clearly the front runner no matter what, even though I don't want him to be the vice president. But he's polling really well in Pennsylvania right now, and then Pennsylvania is a super important state, so just even a couple point boost could really swing the election in your direction. And if you win Pennsylvania, I think the likelihood you lose the election is quite low, but he does have a lot of issues, and I think there are things that I think are catching up to him. But this is kind of interesting. So looks like the mayor of Philly, Cherelle Parker, she releases this Twitter video on her Twitter feed, which is kind of bizarre. It says, "Proud to be back with so many leaders from across our region supporting Kamala Harris for president and Josh Shapiro for VP. We are one city, one region, and one Commonwealth united." And it has a bunch of the Philly people here added. And so I want you guys to check this video out, and I want you to tell me your reaction, because a lot of people are actually thinking that this video actually accidentally leaked from one of the staffers on Cherelle's team, leaking that actually the pick is already made and it's Shapiro. So go ahead and check it out. Let me know what you think.
Philadelphia, we got work to do.
We're ready to rumble, y'all!
I'm Mayor Cherelle Parker, here with leaders from across our region.
Kamala Harris is on the road to victory.
And the road goes through Pennsylvania.
And in Pennsylvania, we're united behind her. The woman that's tough and can lead.
Are we ready to fight for it?
She is the right person at the right time for this job.
It's gonna do right by labor. It's gonna do right by working people.
And I can't think of a better partner than our Governor Josh Shapiro.
His policies have not only supported the working class, but have set standards for progressive leadership that benefits all citizens.
Philadelphia building trades.
IBW for Kamala Harris.
Montgomery County. Bucks.
County.
Delco.
Chester.
Northeast, South Philly, North Philly, for Kamala Harris.
We're getting behind Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris for president. And Josh Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro for vice president.
Now we need you. Let us and Kamala Harris know you stand with her. Together, we can do this.
We are one city.
One region.
One Commonwealth for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, so as you guys just saw the video there, it looks like a pretty standard kind of hype up video or whatever. It's honestly really terrible, to be honest. I have no idea what you would get out of this video in terms of like would energize you to vote or go out to vote, because they didn't really talk about anything. They just said Josh Shapiro, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris says fight for it, and it's like, what? I think one dude said something about being good for labor or whatever, but those are just buzzwords. Those aren't even like actual policies or anything like that. So it's pretty bad and very substanceless. But there's this question about what is going on here in terms of, are they just endorsing Josh Shapiro for vice president? Are they, or is this like the video that's supposed to drop after the announcement that Josh Shapiro is the vice president, or like simultaneously, consecutively supposed to drop, where basically this drops and it's like, oh, hey, Shapiro is the vice president, and so support him because he's already been determined to be the vice president. And I love how Bashir is like trending in the corner. But there's a big question now. And then also an interesting question would be, how much coordination is there between the Kamala Harris campaign and this team who put this video together? Because, maybe it'd be weird if the first drop is in Pennsylvania and then they're saying Josh Shapiro for vice president. And I think the endorsement is supposed to already be made by now, by the time that starts. And some of the reports I think are saying that she's still picking and that she's still going through the process. So honestly, it's pretty confusing. But we have this reporting from this guy's named Ernest Owens. He's an award-winning journalist. He's from Philly. It looks like he's a political writer for the Philly Mag, and he's also an author. So he says, "Scoop: Philly political sources have told me that a staffer connected with Mayor Cherelle Parker's team accidentally posted the video today. The video was scheduled for Monday after VP Kamala Harris is expected to announce her pick. It's Josh Shapiro, y'all. I'm hearing there's a firestorm right now. I guess that's an understatement." And then he gives his own personal thoughts. He says, "Think out loud with all these odd moves coming from Pennsylvania and Philly Democrats right now pushing Kamala Harris to pick Josh Shapiro as her VP. Wonder if it all backfires and she goes in a completely different direction altogether." The $1 million question for me is, what are the other state and local Democratic parties for the respective candidates interested in VP? Pennsylvania seems to be the only ones doing videos with all the momentum for Tuesday's VP rally. So some people are actually they're having some conspiracies about, or maybe not conspiracies, but they're having some theories that potentially maybe what could happen is, like all this kind of pushing or pressing or mishandling can actually lead to the candidate that they want actually not being chosen. So potentially maybe it ends up going in a different direction as a result of, hey, you're pressing me too hard, you're handling this poorly. But this guy seems to be a pretty well-sourced writer himself, and so it'd be reasonable to assume that he has sources in Philadelphia. He's from Pennsylvania. He writes for the Philly Mag, so I mean, I don't think he's just completely making up BS. Another interesting thing is there's no responses allowed to this tweet, which I think is also pretty suspect in terms of was this an intentional release? Was this a mistake release? What kind of exactly went down with this whole situation? Again, I would be very, very shocked if Josh Shapiro does not end up being the vice president. I think it's almost close to impossible at this point. There is a little bit of media coverage. I did just cover in a couple of videos about Walz, which is pretty surprising because, Walz was kind of out of the media light for this for a while, and so he was kind of out of the running, I thought, because the media is not even covering him, doesn't really have any energy around him. Josh Shapiro is sort of the default person who they're going to pick. I think he's not a good pick. I think they're better off if they go with Walz or Beshear. I'd be fine with either of them. I'd prefer Walz over Beshear, but hey, I'll take whichever one. I'm not going to be picky. But I think that I'm not really sure on this one, to be honest. But again, this writer who's writing this, he seems to be pretty well, sourced or has some kind of credentials. It's not like that one random guy who was just like, oh yeah, Beshear got higher security detail, and there's no actual evidence of that or any sources or any writer or anything like that. And so I'm pretty fascinated to know if they accidentally leak this. And then a lot of people who maybe just kind of sort of are looking for that rush of sort of copium, or are looking for that rush of copium, are like, oh, well, hey, maybe this kind of behavior makes it so that they actually choose somebody else over Josh Shapiro. And so it's honestly hard for me to tell. I mean, when they say Josh Shapiro for vice president, I just feel like it would be so risky in terms of doing this if they were to do this. If Pennsylvania is the first stop and they're trying to be kind of coordinated with the Central Democratic Party, I feel like it would be risky to put Josh Shapiro in here. And it's not actually him who's going to be the choice. And the reporting, I think, is saying that the first rally is supposed to contain the vice president as a member of the set. He's supposed to be an element of the set, right? He's supposed to be a member of the set. So I just find it kind of unlikely. He also is kind of like a mention at the end, but it's kind of like a build-up into him, kind of being intro to sort of the governor of the state. They kind of make like a Batman type intro for him, where he just kind of comes and he's just looking at the ground, just kind of doing his own thing or whatever. He's got his comb over slicked back and everything, and they're saying Josh Shapiro for vice president. So honestly, I don't know. This could just be a potential. This could just be like a potential. Maybe it's just a stump thing for Kamala, or the other theory is that actually, this guy has some reporting as and ostensibly a scoop that's saying, hey, there's actually a mistake. So super interesting and fascinating to see what's true. There's only a couple of days left until this actually drops, so it's felt like a long time. It's Saturday already, but it's reported that it's supposed to come out Tuesday. The other confusing part is there's reports that she hasn't actually picked who she's going to choose, so it's honestly a little bit confusing for me. But hopefully it ends up being Beshear or Walz. The only thing that's kind of you can use as sort of some hopeful copium if you are a Walz or Beshear supporter. Walz is getting some media coverage. This article in The Hill saying House Democrats hone in on Tim Walz for Harris ticket. Pelosi is reportedly kind of fond of Walz, and then Biden also loves Walz. Biden also loves Walz because he just really enjoys hanging out with him, is what one staffer said. He just had a really fun time being around him, to the point where they joked, hey man, maybe we should just have Walz around all the time, just so he's happy we have the vibes. His vibes are really infectious. So hopefully that's what ends up happening, but I think what ends up happening is Shapiro gets picked. I hope Shapiro's scandals don't come back to bite him, which is really the scary part, because he seems to have some stuff kind of living beneath the surface right now that's kind of waiting to just come out. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them if they do choose him, and hopefully it ends up bringing Pennsylvania. If not, I think it'd be a horrible failure. But let me know your thoughts down below. Was this an accidental leak, or was it just a stump speech?